I'm sure the overburdened British taxpayer would be fascinated to know how the Special Ordnance Section disperses its funds. In future, Commander, allow me to suggest a perfectly adequate watchmaker just down the street. Good God.
Austin Lee Russell, better known as Chumlee, is a relatively controversial character in the world of Pawn Stars. Chumlee has been working at gold and silver pawn shops since around 2003, but was first a longtime friend of Corey Harrison, another personality on the show. Chumlee has come under fire in recent years due to his arrest in 2016, following a large amount of illicit drug paraphernalia that was found in his home. However, regardless of his personal life, Chumlee has proven to be quite useful around the shop, largely due to his knowledge of classic video games, specialty sneakers, and more importantly, Rolex watches. Chumlee has proven to have quite the knack for calling out fake Rolex watches and has caught more than a few scammers throughout the show's run. In one example that was posted to YouTube, Chumlee called out a Rolex watch that had already been purchased by the shop but was later found to have been fake. Chumlee explained that their shop is open 24 hours a day. However, the interior of the shop is only open during daylight hours. After this, the shop is shut down and only the front window is open so that midnight or early morning pawn sales can be made. Chumlee says that a night shift worker was at the window one evening when a customer approached with this watch. He explained that it was a real Rolex, so the attendant at the window inspected it. This watch had all of the telltale signs of it being genuine, right down to the green tint on the glass. Though Rolex watches come with a variety of slightly tinted glass, some are available with a blue tint, some green, and some are even completely clear. Chumlee stated that this watch was supposed to ship with green tinted glass. However, the coloring of this particular glass could be seen without the object being flashed in direct sunlight. This means that rather than the glass having a natural tint from a sapphire lens, the glass had been colored by a black market vendor. Also, in this watch, Chumlee stated that the lens wasn't green enough to be considered legitimate. Most Rolex watches that have a green tinted display will have a dramatically green tint to them. In this fake watch, the green was quite subtle and was mostly only visible around the cut edges of the glass. This means that this Rolex is almost certainly a Chinese knockoff. Chumlee continued to explain how the second hand appears to glide across the face of the watch. In many fakes, the second hand will appear to tick across the watch face rather than smoothly transition from one second to the next. This is one of the most common ways to spot a fake Rolex, as many of the internals of these fake units are made from cheap Chinese parts, and they are not capable of competing with the standard that Rolex has, meaning they are much less precise and more prone to harsh secondhand movements. In addition to the secondhand issues, Chumlee stated that there were other numerous issues with this watch and other fakes that would make them easy to spot for him. One of the main characteristics of a Rolex watch is the fact that it is unusually heavy. Each watch is bound to weigh a slightly different amount due to the density of the metal, where the metal was sourced from, and other basic manufacturer variations. Even if two watches came off of the same assembly line, their weights may be slightly different. This makes it quite difficult to simply place a Rolex on a scale to determine the weight of the watch is accurate. Chumlee says that over the years he has gotten quite good at spotting fake Rolexes simply by their weight variations. Again, in this particular example, Chumlee stated that the watch he was using to demonstrate certainly didn't live up to the weight expectations of a real Rolex watch. Another very important component of Rolex watches is that they each have a serial number on the back that can be decoded and used for identification purposes. This information is specific to each watch and typically explains the watch's origin, the date that it was made, and what model it is. This information is crucial in identifying fakes, as the serial numbers typically will not align with their genuine counterparts. Serial numbers may have minor inconsistencies, such as an incorrect date code. They may also reflect that the watch is a slightly different model than it appears to be, or serial numbers may be missing entirely. This is also common with cheap fake Rolex watches, as many of the black market shops that make these watches do not have the precision tools that are required to etch a number onto the backplate. They also don't have the means of giving each watch its unique number. meaning that dozens of watches that are produced may have the same serial number. Chumlee added that one of the only surefire ways of determining a fake Rolex is to remove the backplate. He admitted that the fake watch that the shop purchased was a good fake. It had all the markings you'd expect on a Rolex, even if they didn't necessarily match up with a genuine device. If you didn't have a genuine Rolex to compare the watch to, it makes sense that the watch could be mistaken as a real one. However, the shop is equipped with the tools and the knowledge required to examine the internals of the watch to determine if it is fake. Chumlee says that it would be immediately noticeable that the watch was fake, as the internals are almost always low quality. You can even pop the watch open and move the hands around the face of the watch to examine how smooth the movements are. A Rolex watch should be extraordinarily smooth when the hands are being adjusted. Knockoff watches almost always have some sort of resistance to them, or are fairly inconsistent hand movements in comparison. Anytime one of the employees is in doubt about a Rolex watch, they simply take the watch over to their in-house jeweler just to make sure before they commit such an expensive purchase. Chumlee told the story of how he used to work the night shift, but that he was always fearful of opening a Rolex on his own, as scratching the backplate of the watch can diminish its value by hundreds of dollars. Even though he is extremely well equipped to spot a fake Rolex, he will typically have a jeweler pop the backplate off just to be sure. This is likely how this watch made it past the current night shift worker, as he too was likely too afraid to remove the backplate on his own, as the potential for scratching the watch is quite high. Overall, Chumlee appears to be extremely knowledgeable about spotting fake Rolex watches. He is likely to have spotted hundreds throughout his career, making him a true expert on the subject. So, if you're looking to pass off a fake Rolex as being genuine, you might want to think again before heading to Chumlee's shop.